Star Trek: The Next Generation's best movie had two surprising Voyager crossovers. Star Trek: First Contact is often regarded as the best Star Trek: The Next Generation movie, and it also has two surprising Star Trek Voyager cameos. Crossovers between the 24th century Star Trek shows were common, since Star Trek: The Next Generation, Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek: Voyager all took place at the same time in the Star Trek timeline and progressed in real time. For 7 years, Captain Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, and the crew of the USS Voyager were lost in the Delta Quadrant, making crossovers with other Star Trek shows difficult, but not impossible. One 90s-era Star Trek crossover with Star Trek Voyager was possible because Voyager's Dr. Robert Picardo was an emergency medical hologram who could be transmitted back to the Alpha Quadrant to interact with Star Trek: The Next Generation's Lieutenant Reginald Barclay, Dwight Schultz. Robert Picardo also played the Doctor's creator, Dr. Louis Zimmerman, not just in Star Trek Voyager, but also in Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. Zimmerman visited DS9 to scan Dr. Julian Bashir, Alexander Siddig, for a new version of the EMH, since the EMH with Zimmerman's face had been a successful feature on Starfleet's new ships. In Star Trek: First Contact, Robert Picardo plays the USS Enterprise-E's version of the emergency medical hologram, and Neelix actor Ethan Phillips has a cameo playing a completely different character. Picardo's cameo is easy to spot, since the EMH on the Enterprise is essentially the same as the USS Voyager's EMH at the start of Star Trek Voyager, just in a new gray-shouldered First Contact uniform. The Enterprise's EMH is a blank slate hologram designed to assist in medical emergencies, so he's woefully unequipped to carry out Dr. Beverly Crusher, Gates McFadden. He's ordered to distract the Borg. Ethan Phillips cameos in Star Trek: First Contact as the nightclub maitre d' in Captain Jean-Luc Picard's Patrick Stewart Dixon Hill holodeck program. Picard and Lily Sloan, Alfred Woodard, use the holodeck as another distraction to stop the Borg on the USS Enterprise-E. Without Neelix's Talaxian makeup, the actor is trickier to spot, but Phillips's voice is unmistakable in his brief moment. The uncredited role in First Contact is the only time Phillips appears in Star Trek with his own face, since Ethan Phillips's other Star Trek roles are Ferengi in Star Trek: The Next Generation and Star Trek Enterprise. Star Trek Voyager's Robert Picardo and Ethan Phillips both appeared in Star Trek: First Contact because they asked to be part of the Star Trek: The Next Generation movie. The EMH was in Star Trek: First Contact thanks to Picardo's not-so-subtle hinting. Picardo left a trail of breadcrumbs by explaining to Star Trek executive producer Rick Berman and First Contact's writers, Brannon Braga and Ronald D. Moore, that it would make sense for the newest Starship Enterprise to have more advanced technology than the USS Voyager. As a result, the USS Enterprise had its own emergency medical hologram. Ethan Phillips asked for his Star Trek: First Contact cameo more directly than Picardo's breadcrumb strategy. Phillips pointed out to Star Trek executive producer Rick Berman that nobody knows what the heck I look like underneath the Neelix makeup, so Phillips could audition for the holodeck maitre d' role despite being a series regular in Star Trek Voyager. Phillips's uncredited First Contact role was also his idea, since it would make his cameo harder to confirm. The two Star Trek Voyager cameos in Star Trek: First Contact bring the connection between Star Trek: The Next Generation and Voyager full circle. Star Trek: The Next Generation, TNG, spawned 4 feature films, but one stood head and shoulders above the rest: Star Trek: First Contact, 1996. Widely regarded as the best film in the TNG movie series, First Contact captured the spirit of the franchise with a compelling blend of action, time travel, and the Borg, perhaps the most menacing villains ever to grace the Star Trek universe. What many may not realize, however, is that First Contact also featured 2 surprising crossovers with Star Trek Voyager, the other Trek series running at the time. These crossovers not only added depth to the movie, but also subtly linked the broader Star Trek universe in ways fans might not have expected. The legacy of the Borg. To fully appreciate the significance of these crossovers, it's important to understand the central premise of First Contact. The movie revolves around the Borg, a cybernetic collective that assimilates other species to enhance its own power and reach. Having first appeared in TNG, the Borg became iconic antagonists, representing the cold, unrelenting face of machine intelligence and collective thought. In First Contact, the Borg travel back in time to prevent humanity's first contact with an alien species, a pivotal moment in Starfleet's history. The crew of the Enterprise must stop them to preserve the future. Given the Borg's connection to TNG, it may come as a surprise that Voyager, a series set in the far reaches of the Delta Quadrant, would have any significant impact on First Contact. But in two distinct ways, Voyager contributed to the movie, and each crossover provided a subtle yet important bridge between the two series. Crossover 1. The arrival of the Borg Queen. One of the most memorable elements of First Contact was the introduction of the Borg Queen, a singular entity who embodies the Borg's collective consciousness. Played with chilling precision by Alice Krige, the Borg Queen added a new dimension to the Borg, presenting them as more than just a faceless enemy. Her manipulative dialogue and eerie charm made her an instant fan favorite. But the Borg Queen was not exclusive to First Contact. She would later appear in Star Trek Voyager, specifically in the two-part finale Endgame, as well as earlier episodes like Dark Frontier. In fact, Voyager further developed the character of the Borg Queen, showing how she interacts with other drones and the larger Borg collective. While First Contact introduced this menacing leader, Voyager expanded her lore, giving her a deeper connection to Star Trek's broader universe. However, it was the way the Borg Queen was initially conceptualized in First Contact that set the stage for her appearances in Voyager. She represented a central figure that could personify the Borg's goals, giving the collective a face and a voice to interact with. This humanization of the Borg was key to her future role in Voyager, as she would come to directly oppose Captain Janeway and Seven of Nine. In many ways, the Borg Queen's debut in First Contact laid the foundation for her continued role in Star Trek lore. Crossover 2, the appearance of the EMH Emergency Medical Hologram. The second and perhaps most surprising Voyager crossover in First Contact came in the form of the Emergency Medical Hologram, EMH, played by Robert Picardo. In Voyager, the EMH was a central character, designed to be a temporary doctor who could serve in the event of a medical emergency. Over time, he became a beloved member of the crew, evolving from a simple program into a fully realized individual with distinct personality traits. In First Contact, Picardo's EMH makes a cameo during a pivotal moment. When the Enterprise crew is battling Borg intruders in the ship's sickbay, Dr. Beverly Crusher activates the EMH as a diversion. His appearance, although brief, provided a humorous yet effective moment in the middle of the tense action. With his trademark dry wit, the EMH quips, "I'm a doctor, not a doorstop," as he attempts to stall the Borg invaders. For Voyager fans, this was a delightful Easter egg, linking the two series in a light-hearted yet meaningful way. Though this cameo was brief, it was significant in illustrating how Star Trek's interconnected universe allowed for crossovers that could serve both as plot devices and as nods to the dedicated fanbase. The appearance of the EMH not only injected some levity into an otherwise intense sequence, but also reminded audiences that the Star Trek universe is vast, with characters who can move between different series and storylines. The importance of crossovers in the Star Trek universe, these two crossovers, while small in terms of screen time, were significant in reinforcing the shared universe of Star Trek. At the time of First Contact's release, Voyager was in the midst of its third season. The appearance of the Borg Queen and the EMH helped solidify the connection between the two series, reminding viewers that although the crews of the Enterprise and Voyager were far apart in space,